All right, hey guys, we're back here, and this video, we're going to be in Revelation chapter 17, and we're going to go through all the verses. So I'm going to give a little bit of input here because I want to document this study to get it up online so that I have it for a reference and that I can continue to study and go deeper into the Word. So, all right, let's go. And we left off the 7 plagues as we were going through in Revelation 16. Now let's look at Revelation 17 verse 1, and it says, "And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, and said unto me, Come here, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." Now this is key right here, guys, because we're going to see that those many waters that this whore is sitting on, the waters are the nations of the earth. There are many nations, okay? And the whore, the great whore that the judgment is going to be against, that is the Roman Catholic Church. This is how the Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire, it never was conquered. It still exists today because it changed. It transformed it from pagan Rome into papal Rome, okay? So we're going to see this as we go on. But this whore is sitting upon many waters, because this is in the Dark Ages is when this is taking place. And we know that the Roman Catholic Church, from 538 up until 1798, ruled through the Dark Ages for 1260 years, and the 10 nations of Europe gave their power, their governments, their authority to the papacy, and the Pope, as the dictator, ruled. Okay? And we're going to see this more and more as we go through. With whom, now notice this, she's a whore because she commits adultery and fornicates with the kings of the earth. She uses them, the Roman Catholic Church uses the governments of the world, the kings, for their power, because she has no power. All she has is false doctrines and teachings and the traditions of man. She has no power. Okay, but the governments of the world give their kingdoms to her, and she uses their power. Now, the 10 divisions of Europe that it split into, the 10 horns that it grew, they were 10 nations, 10 kingdoms, and these are the ones that she ruled through the Dark Ages. Actually, technically 7, because 3 of them she killed. She committed genocide against 3 of them. Because, among other things, they did not want to believe in the Trinity. The Arians believed in the Father and the Son, that Jesus was begotten by his Father, from what I have seen. They try to tell you that. They say Jesus was created, but I'm not buying that at all. So, verse 2, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication," because church and state, that's fornication. When a church gets in bed with the state, they should never mingle their matters together, and the state should never rule in the matters of the church. That's an abomination, and it's committing adultery. Okay, so, "And the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Because this has happened, you guys, through the Dark Ages, the state got into bed with the church. The church ruled their laws, and they enforced them by the state. So if you didn't believe in their Nicene Creed, or the creeds of the Roman Catholic Church, then they're going to kill you. They're going to enforce it by law, and they're going to use the state to enforce their laws, and they're going to kill everybody. Okay, this is what they do. And the whole world is made drunk with the wine of her fornication, all the teachings and doctrines and false beliefs, traditions, all that stuff. The whole world's drunk. I'm starting to sober up, but I've been drunk my whole life with the false beliefs. So verse 3, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now notice this, you guys. It notices that he carried John away in the spirit into the wilderness. Now I believe this time frame, from what I've seen in the scriptures, a comparison, we know that the church went into the wilderness for 1260 days, which we know is years. So the wilderness is from 538 AD to 1798 AD. Those 1260 years with papal ruling the earth, with papal dominance through the state, that was the wilderness, excuse me, for the church. Okay, after 1798, God's people came out of the wilderness and they actually established a church and stuff like that. So the scarlet colored beast, that is the beast that this woman would, notice how she was sitting upon this beast. Okay, it's a church sitting on a kingdom, actually many kingdoms. It had 10 horns, but it only had 7 heads, because remember, 3 of those horns were plucked up by the roots. The Vandals, the Heruli, and one of the Visigoths, maybe, I think it was 3 of those 10 horns she genocided. So, and that was complete by the year 538. That's why the Dark Ages started then. She ran unopposed from the nations. So verse 4, and the woman, now notice this, the church, okay, the woman, and this is what the world thought was the Christian church. There was nothing Christian about it. It only called itself Christian because it was a counterfeit to the Son of God. Okay? And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. Purple and scarlet, those are the colors of the papacy and the Roman Catholic cardinals. And notice how it decked herself, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. We know the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, is a very wealthy institution, one of the wealthiest institutions. Having a golden cup in her hand, and we know that's the wine that's inside that cup. That's her wine. It's all the false teachings and beliefs and traditions. It's full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. So that cup, that wine that people are drinking, those are the abominations. There are many of them, like the rapture and Sunday worship and ever burning hell, where you burn forever, all eternity. And they just go on and on and on. The 7-year tribulation. I mean, there's literally hundreds, if not thousands. So, verse 5, and upon her forehead, remember forehead, that resembles our mind, our character. Upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. Now notice this, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. See, she's a counterfeit of Jesus Christ, a counterfeit of the true Son of God. Notice how she's a mother. This is why the Vatican, the Roman Catholics, are called the Mother Church. Catholic means universal, okay? But she's a mother of harlots. She has prostitute daughters that commit adultery. These were given to her through the Protestant Reformation. The harlots that she's the mother to are all the apostate Protestant churches in the world. And that's including, like I said, many Seventh-day Adventists nowadays. So she's the mother of those harlot churches and abominations of the earth. She's the mother of that stuff. Notice this, verse 6, it says, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, it's been estimated through the Dark Ages of Papal reign, the Catholic Church killed between 50 up and some say even up to 100 million of Christians who believed that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. She killed that many people during the Dark Ages. She used the state to do it, the state authority. that was given to her. Disgusting. I think of John Huss right away, what they did to him. It was just terrible, and so many others. She was drunk with the blood of the saints because she killed them all, or killed many of them. Verse 7, and the angel said to me, wherefore did thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. Now that's key, you guys, because the angel is going to tell us the mystery of the woman, which is the church. That's the Catholic Church. And of the beast that carries her. Those are the 10 horns, which ultimately was 7 heads. Because you remember, now I don't know if that's correct, that's what I'm getting out of this, because it had 10 horns originally, but then it plucked up and exterminated 3 of those horns, so only 7 were left. And she ruled through the Dark Ages with the 7 heads. Now, I'm not sure if that's what the 7 heads are, but she did rule with 7 nations during that time. And notice it's a woman sitting on a beast. The beast is carrying her. It's because the woman is controlling the beast. The beast is the power that's carrying her everywhere she goes. But she can pull it to the left, pull it to the right, go forward. She's controlling the state. That's what that's symbolic of. Now the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not, notice that, were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is. Now remember this, you guys, it's a counterfeit of the Son of God. Okay, Jesus Christ was not, yet is. Also, they do the same thing. Now the beast, the Roman Catholic Church, the Papacy, in their state of church and state union, when they rule through the state, nations of the earth, notice how it says that the beast was, because it ruled through the Dark Ages. It ended in 1798, and then because he's in the wilderness, remember? And then it says, and is not. It's because the deadly wound was given in 1798, and it's a deadly wound. The beast, it was dead for a time, okay? State power was taken away from the Catholic Church. But notice this, and yet is, okay? That's because it's a resurrection. It's a counterfeit resurrection of the Son of God. You see, the one in the world that calls itself Jesus Christ is going to be given state power back to, and they're going to rule again. The Catholic Church is going to rule again as dictator through the whole earth. And they're going to use their 10 horns, and they're going to try to kill God's people again. So the yet is, that's the resurrection, the counterfeit resurrection of the papacy. It's when the papacy is given back state power to rule. So that's what that is. And verse 9, and here, now notice this, here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Now we just got done talking about how during the Dark Ages this woman was sitting on the beast, and it had 7 heads. Now, I don't know if this is correct or not, but let's keep this in mind. It originally had 10 horns, like I said. Excuse me. And then it plucked up and killed 3 of those horns, leaving only 7 left. So it went through the Dark Ages, ruling with those 7 nations. France, the English, the Spanish, the Italians. There were 7 of them total, okay? So, and we know the heads had crowns on them when we read earlier, and I think it was 12 or 13. And there are also 7 mountains. We know mountains are also, it can be symbolic of nations, of kingdoms, okay? And the woman is sitting on them, and we just saw that that's the woman was sitting upon the beast. So that's amazing, and I love how the Bible explains that for us. But let's look at verse 10. It says, and there are 7 kings. Now, I don't understand this verse quite yet. Let's look at this. There are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. I have not got the understanding of this yet. I need to study it and pray about this and compare. Let's look at that again. There are 7 kings. Now, if those 7, it's got to be talking about these same 7 heads, these 7 mountains, kingdoms. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is, and the other is not yet come. The other that is not yet come is making me think that it's the deadly wound being healed, the papacy. You see what I'm saying? And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. I think that's the deadly wound being healed, but I'm not positive. I really want to get that figured out. And the beast that was and is not, that is the papacy that's talking about here. And the beast that was, it ruled through the Dark Ages, and is not, because it had a deadly wound. Notice this, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Now, you know why he's the 8th? And I love this, you guys. Because this is the deadly wound being healed, because the number 8 is symbolic of resurrection. There were 8 authors of the New Testament, time of the resurrection. There were 8 people on the Noah's Ark. They were, in a sense, resurrected when the entire world died. So Jesus rose on the 8th day. 8 is a symbol of resurrection, and we know that the beast here that it's talking about is in fact the papacy, and this is when the deadly wound is healed. So he is the 8th. So the 7 kings. Yeah, I got to study that more, that part. But verse 11, we understand that's the deadly wound being healed, the resurrection, the counterfeit resurrection. And he goeth into perdition. Perdition just means destruction. He's going to go into the lake of fire and be destroyed forever and never live again, these people. So all who take part in that. Verse 12, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. So we know those are 10 kingdoms, which have received no kingdom as yet. Okay, this is the second 10 horns. It's not the original that was back, that gave the Catholic Church its power back in 476, leading up to 538. So this is going to happen in our day. So it says the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now 1 hour can literally mean 15 days, but I don't think it has to. So, but you know, in this chapter, you guys, I had almost thought that it was talking about what the papacy did during the Dark Ages, and then here it's explaining the 10 kings that are given to it at the end of the world. Okay, think about the Daniel 2, the statue of the metal man. The feet are of iron and clay that won't stick together because church and state does not mix. Okay, and there are 10 toes. Okay, those must be the 10 horns right here that it's speaking about. So that's very, very interesting here. So they're going to reign 1 hour with the beast. But notice this, you guys, the 10 horns that are at the end of the world. They're 10 kings, so they're 10 kingdoms. But notice this, they have received no kingdom as of yet. So they've never had their own kingdom, but receive power as kings for 1 hour. So that's why I think my mind goes right to the United Nations, a system of 10 kings that are set up that have never had power before, but they get it right at the end. That's where my mind goes right away, you know what I mean? And it very well could be. But let's continue verse 13. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength to the beast. They're going to give their armies and their government and their authority and everything to the beast. Notice this, they shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. I love that God's people are always, they're the ones that are called out. They're called out of the churches, and they're called out of the world. They're called out of Babylon. They're called out of it all. So verse 15, and he saith to me, now this is key right here to remember too, you guys. And he says to me, the waters which thou sawest. Remember in the beginning we saw that the whore was sitting upon many waters. Well, this explains what it is. This is parallelism right here. I love this. Well, I don't know if this is parallelism, but it's repeat and expand. It's compare scripture with scripture. It says, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sits, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. You see? So she sat upon many waters during the Dark Ages because there were many nations. She had 7 of them. All right, 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. Now notice these 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these are yet future. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. I mean, they're probably just, once they find out they're deceived, all the nations that are under the Pope's control, the Catholic, you guys, they're probably going to turn around and just bomb her out of existence, like just going to send just atomic bombs after her, at the end here. Verse 17, and for those people that don't think this is going to happen, you guys, you just have to study the Bible. Everything has happened just like God. All history has been foretold for us. Look at verse 17. For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom to the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. So he's already put the right people are going to be in power, and they're going to give their kingdoms to the Roman Catholic Church. The Pope will be the head. I mean, it's going to happen. And the last verse, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, and that great city is Rome. This is their headquarters, as the Vatican. This is what this is speaking about. So incredible stuff, you guys. I got to get the timeline nailed down, because we see in 17, from what I can tell, we're seeing the Dark Ages, everything up until the deadly wound, and then there's a deadly wound, but then we see that it is the 8th. It resurrects back into power, and it's in these 10 horns. It's given these 10 horns at the end of the world. So it's the whole history of the papacy, really, that we're looking at here. But all right, well, that's it for this one, you guys. As we go deeper, we will start to compare more and more to get all this figured out, and we'll get into Ellen White, published writings, and some of the pioneers, see what we can dig up, and go back through this again sometime. So, all right, keep studying, you guys. God bless, and I will see you guys in my next study.